Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and let's get ready for Bayloric TV.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Ingram Jones, and you're listening to Bayloric TV Boxing Channel. I have with me matchmaker for Dennis Hobson Promotions. Am I correct?
Yes.
And it's Russ Hartley.
Yeah, that's me, yeah.
Okay, Russ, for those people who want verification as to who you are, tell us a little bit about you.
Who am I? I play a little small part in boxing. In boxing, let me think. My granddad, he was involved with Bruce Woodcock in the 1940s and 50s. He worked at Pitt with him and worked his corner. Bruce fought for Lee Savoy for world title in 1950 at White City in London in front of 70,000. And he just, I suppose from there, and then obviously as a kid watching fights on TV, you know, Barry McGuigan, he was big in our house. I mean, when he fought, all streets, but there were nobody on the streets. There were only 4 TV channels, weren't there?
Yep.
Frank Bruno, you know, people like that. Kirtland Lang, you know, big fan of Kirtland Lang's.
Of course, Hackney boy.
Yeah, so just basically like that. And then obviously I started following Frotch and Davy Day from when they won the medals in Ireland in 2001. And I thought they were going to be the next big thing. Obviously they were, weren't they? They were big news. And I've become good friends with Carl, actually. So it's snowballed from there. And obviously Dennis asked me if I was interested in a consultancy job at his place. And I said, yeah. And it's been 18 months later. and it's nearly done me head in. Some of the things I see, unbelievable, but it's like a soap opera, innit? But they say it's addictive, don't they? But I can assure you there's no money in it.
Well, you know, one of the reasons I guess people are going to ask, well, how did I get in contact with you, or how did you contact me, or because
I've just followed your interviews on Twitter. And I think you're very good, very sharp, and that you say it as it is. You don't want any misinformation out there, and I suppose you're like a voice for fans, aren't you? But I just feel that somebody needs to point promoters in the right direction, because with the way boxing is going at the moment, 2016, in my opinion, it's been just rhubarb, pure rhubarb, and the fights are just not happening. People are not fighting people. It's just become atrocious.
Okay.
I mean, the heavyweight scene at the moment is just, it's the worst it's ever been.
Let's talk about two things. Let's talk about some matchmaking you've done, so people can say, all right, this guy's talking. So what matchmaking have you done?
Well, what I do, I put people together. Now,
Okay.
I've tried to put Anthony Otava together with a couple of people, and that didn't work. Sheedy Langford, that's going to be on next month. That's one of our fights. Just putting people together, basically. It's obviously I don't have a final decision on everything. People can overrule. I can just recommend things. Like, for instance, last month, I thought I'd be cheeky and we'd put an offer to Frotch because we looked at some of his tweets and he looked like he might be getting itchy feet. So we had our lawyers draw an offer up for Frotch for a lot of money for a fight deal. And obviously he got back in touch and said that he's no way is he coming back. But then again, if you look at Carl's tweets yesterday, he says he's if only he were fighting again. So all fighters, I suppose, get itchy feet, don't they?
Okay, that's true. And whoever does land Carl Frotch, I mean, Abel Sanchez I've spoke to quite a few times, people know.
Yeah.
And he's quite adamant. He seems to think, and Tom Loeffler, if the right money was given to Frotch, they could tempt out of retirement.
Well, we offered him £8 million on a 4-fight deal, fighting in Nottingham. 4 fights, just Mehdi Amar for European title, Thomas Aushausen and 2 other guys that were with Matchroom that we probably would have got knocked back on, but we offered him a 4-fight deal, £2 million a fight, and he wasn't bothered. So he's obviously not swayed by money, or is he waiting for the big money? Because the fights he's had, he can't just go back to fighting somebody like Paul Smith, can he?
No.
But if Paul Smith's good enough for Andre Ward, why ain't he good enough for Carl Frotch after a 2.5-year layoff?
Interesting. So let's talk about your involvement with Matchroom, because you seem to have some involvement with Matchroom.
No, I've no involvement with Matchroom at all. No involvement with Matchroom at all.
So even
I
if
know him.
so in terms of matchmaking and stuff like that.
Oh, it's matchmaking, yeah,
Yes.
matchmaking. Well, basically, what happens is, if you've got, for instance, if we've got certain fighters, like Sam Sheedy, and he's a light middleweight, he's moved up to middleweight now,
Yep.
he's going to be looking for a fight. It's my job to find what for guys who are available, and I'll just point them out to Dennis, and then he'll do the rest. That's basically it, really. There's no ifs or buts about it. It's not a hard job. It's not time-consuming. It's pretty simple, really. For instance, I didn't make this fight, but Liam Cameron, he fights for Zach Dunn for Commonwealth title, doesn't he, in Australia?
Yep.
Shortly. That I didn't make that fight, but that's... I was saying for that fight for ages, but... and obviously it's come off on it now, so that's a good fight. But it's more of a consultancy, sort of putting people together. If you get my drift. But I'm very happy with what I do, and Dennis is obviously very happy. But as you know, we've got a TV deal at the moment. We Asif Valley. It's about boxing. It's on channel 468 on Sky and channel 90 on Freeview. So things are sort of going in the right direction for us at the moment. But we've just lost Lewis Taylor to Dave Caldwell, and. That's not very good, actually, because Dennis and Dave don't see eye to eye.
Okay.
Because, obviously, McDonald's with them, isn't he? So,
understand that. Let's talk about the heavyweight division.
Heavyweight division, yeah?
Let's talk about Joshua, Molina, Klitschko, Fury. Let's talk about that.
Well, in my opinion, right, the best heavyweight out there at the moment is Tyson Fury. By a mile, by a country mile, because he beat the main man. He not only beat him, he made him look stupid. And obviously he's had his problems since then. So, but the main five guys, I think, are Tyson, David Haye, even though he's had two weak opponents, he's looking sharp in training. David Haye, Wilder, Ortiz, who Eddie's just signed, and who's the other guy? There's another guy, I'm trying to think his name now. Fury, Wilder, Ortiz, Joshua. They're the main five guys, aren't they? And Vladimir, they're your main guys at the moment, aren't they? But Joshua's not fighting them, is he?
No, where would you put Stavern and Povetkin then?
I'd put them as Class C.
Okay, interesting.
I don't think Povetkin's big enough to do any damage at heavyweight.
Okay, interesting. So in terms of this situation with Joshua and the opponent, now it's been rumoured that it's going to be Molina. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's rhubarb. I mean, he's been knocked out 3 times cold. He's only had 28 fights. What is he, 25 and 3? He's 35 next birthday. He's out of shape. He's just going to be another tatey for Joshua to just plough straight through. And I think it'll be a 2-round demolition and crowd will boo. And no way is it pay-per-view. I mean, even press are saying, aren't they? All big wigs front press on here are saying it's not pay-per-view. And I think that's why it's delayed. And I wouldn't be shocked if Joshua pulled an injury out in the next couple of days to say he's not fighting because it's not pay-per-view. Because if that is pay-per-view, we may as well all pack his bags and go get a job on building sites. That's my opinion.
Hughie Fury, the talk about Fury versus Joshua.
Joshua, yeah. They offered... Well, I heard they offered him 600 grand to fight on Grapevine, and they knocked it back, which I think is a poor offer because you, as a young lad, 21, his time's to come. He's the next generation after Joshua. His time's to come, and let me tell you, he is some fighter, that Hughie Fury. He gives Tyson all sorts of problems and other guys, and he's like the next generation. He's only 21, he's a baby. He's 6'6", he's got that big long reach on him. He's got that cross-arm Kenny Norton defence, and I think he's really good, and when he gets his manpower, he's going to do some damage him. He'll do some proper damage. I just don't think his time's yet. I think he needs to build up, get this legal problem they've got out of the way, and I think he'll come good him. He's got time on his side, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has got time on his side. So what about the stuff about, talk of Hughie Fury not wanting the fight and ducking Joshua?
I don't think that Hughie. I don't think Peter would put up anything like that because the travellers aren't they? They don't knock fights back. I don't think the money were right. I mean, I heard McKenzie blow a gasket with money offer. I mean, it's 600 grand's not a lot of money when Joshua was making 5 million. So I think it was very disrespectful to a kid who was 20-0, 21-year-old, and he's got a lot to lose if he loses that fight. So I think the money should have been at least double that. And I think he was disrespectful. And I think they knew that Huey was an hard fight, because if he's giving Tyson problems, he's going to give Joshua problems, because he looks flat-footed to me. He's like a robot. And Huey's a mover, and he's got all the skills. He may not have the power Joshua's got, but he's got everything else that Joshua hasn't got. So that's my opinion, anyway.
So there are lots of opinions of Anthony Joshua, of how good Anthony Joshua is. His promoter will tell you that he's the best in the world, the best heavyweight in the world. What are your thoughts about all of this?
My opinion is this, right? And I've seen him train at EIS. He likes to lift a lot of weights. He's a very powerful kid. I mean, I've seen tapes of him on YouTube doing 100 meters in just under 11 seconds. So he's big, he's strong, he's powerful, he's quick, he's got all that. But I think he's vulnerable, and I think Dylan White showed he's vulnerable when he caught him, and then he pulled his shoulder and he couldn't finish him off. I think he is vulnerable, and I think that's why they've not had the David Price fight, because if he catches him, like he did in sparring, and he put him out for about 5 minutes with 18-ounce gloves on and headgear, I think if Price catches him, they can say goodbye to getting all the money back that they gave to Charlie Martin. I think that's why they've not given David Price the fight. I think they're going to give Molina, because he's not got as much pop in his punches, and he's out of shape, and he's older than Price, and he's been iced 3 times. I know David Price has been stopped 3 times, but they were against drug cheats, weren't they? So I don't really count them. I think David Price would have given him a lot of problems, and I don't think they fancied it. I mean, Eddie keeps going on about domestic fights. Let's have these domestic fights. Dave Colwell's his mate who he goes on holiday with. Well, all that, and they can't get David Price in, and he's ranked 12 with IBF. Come on. They're frightened, aren't they? That's what my opinion is anyway. But like I said, boxing's full of opinions, isn't it?
It's true, but boxing is full of opinions. Some people want to hear a logical argument and will take it, and other people...
Yeah, well, I think that's as logical as you're going to get, innit, that one?
I agree.
David Price, if he hits you, you are going to sleep, and Joshua's already been levelled out, knocked out in sparring, and that will be at the back of his mind. If he catches me once, I'm going. If Dylan White caught him and couldn't finish him off, well, if Price catches him, he will go down.
Let me clear something up here. I heard was that Joshua got knocked out in sparring before the Matt Leg fight. But the story...
Before the what fight?
Before the Matt Leg fight. Before he fought Matt Leg.
Oh, I hadn't heard that one. I know Price knocked him out in near Christmas time, 2011. I hadn't heard about that one before the Matt Leg fight. That was a couple of years ago, the Matt Leg fight, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I heard that was when he was a pro. That's the story.
Yeah.
I don't know how true that is, but he definitely got knocked out in sparring.
I ain't heard that one. But I know about the Price one because I don't think David Price wanted to bring that up on Twitter because he's not that type of kid. But it is true, and a lot of people know about that. I'd heard little rumours about it, but when David Price went into detail on Twitter, and then I spoke to Tyson about it last Sunday, he was saying, yeah, it did happen. And so he did get put down, and maybe that's why the Price fight hasn't happened, because it all looked like it were all going to be Joshua Price, and I thought that were an half-decent fight. I don't think Molina's a good fight at all. I mean, he's not even from England, is he?
He's American. He says he feels that, he gives his best, he gives his all.
Yeah.
He says
he's going to come, he's going to want to fight, isn't he? But when they're getting them sort of paychecks, it's easy to roll over, isn't it? Like Charlie Martin did. Not that he'll be getting as much as Charlie Martin. And I'm not having a dig at Brazil there because I don't think he came to roll over. He took his licks, the kid Brazil. He wasn't talented enough to beat Anthony. He never won a round, but he did take his licks, so he didn't roll over. But we'll see, won't we? I mean, if Molina goes over in 2 rounds, they're all going to jump on Eddie's back, aren't they, and say, we told you, and you're a con man and this and that. So I suppose he can't win, really, can he? But he should have put the Haye fight on, or Ortiz. I mean, them fights are on his lap. He's got Ortiz on his books, and David Haye's more or less begging for fights. I mean, come on, what? And the country would pay for those fights as well. I mean, the Haye fight and Joshua's massive. I mean, it's 5 weeks till fight time, and Eddie's announced Joshua's got a pay-per-view fight, but no opponent. I mean, he used to get on Frank Warren's back for that, didn't he? Do you know what I mean? So you can't have it both ways.
So for you, what about the whole Eddie Hearn thing? Because I did an interview, or I suppose he did an interview with a guy called Jack of Gossip.
Yeah.
And Gossip said that He says that journeyman fighters are paid very little money and disrespected. Is this true?
It depends which fighters. I mean, you can look. It depends what level they're on, I suppose. I mean, some fighters are getting like $5 and $6 grand, aren't they? And I see it all the time. And some fighters are getting 10 grand for British title challenges, and then they're having to wait for the money. You know, if it's with a certain promoter. So, I think fighters should be paid on the night, in my opinion. And I have heard that Matchroom do pay on the night, so that's good, really, because my friend Elizabeth back from me, David Allen, he got paid quickly when he fought Dylan White, and I think that's good. But maybe fighters, maybe they're not paid enough. I think they should get a lot more because they're risking their lives, aren't they? And I'm all for fighters getting good pay and what have you. I mean, it only needs one bad night and it's over in it for you. So that's my opinion on that. I suppose should be paid well.
What are your thoughts on two things? The whole thing with Brooke when he moved up to fight Golovkin. I mean, good money made for Brooke, but...
Yeah, my opinion on that is Kell Brook, if it had been Paulie Malignaggi, who's got a better record than Kell Brook at welterweight, we'd have all been screaming blue murder, won't we? But all of a sudden, Eddie's running around saying, Kell Brook's a beast, Kell Brook's a beast. At the end of the day, Kell Brook is a 147 fighter. He's not a 160-pound fighter. And Carson Jones, he went life and death with him, who was basically a journeyman. So to put him in with Golovkin, I think were dangerous and silly, and I think it were all about money. And I think that Dominic Ingle should be ashamed of himself. So should Kell's stepdad Terry. They should all be ashamed of themselves. But he saved Eddie's neck, didn't it, on pay-per-view, so he's happy, isn't he? But that fight were all about money and not about safety. He put in a welterweight in with this guy who was supposed to be killing people or half killing people. I mean, if they put Manny Pacquiao in with him, there'd be hell on, wouldn't there? Mm-hmm. But Kell's a beast, didn't he? Don't forget, he blows up to 14 stone. That doesn't mean anything. You've got 32 hours to rehydrate. So I personally didn't think it was a good idea, and they threw a towel in, didn't they, and took the money and run. So, but that's my opinion on that. I just think it was a load of garbage, and they pissed up the fans' legs. So
the Eddie Hearn or the Matchroom model of, you know, even if you can't win this fight, there's always a fight down the road for you after this. You better take this fight now. What are your thoughts on that model?
Lee Purdy against Devin Alexander or Gavin Reese against Broner? Just get your money and run, kid. Take the money. It's a payday. Or Paul Smith against Andre Ward. What chance has Paul Smith got fighting? What did he fight? 3 guys in 4 years, and they were all ranked between 300 to 500 on BoxRec. Then he's got Arthur Abraham twice, and then Andre Ward, and all, these are all losses. I mean, what chance did he have against that? But he got paid. What if somebody's going to get hurt? Somebody is going to get hurt. I mean, what they're talking about now, they're talking about, I forget now, it's gone from me. Some guy, they're talking about Pacquiao, aren't they, fighting Golovkin now. Somebody's going to get hurt. Paulie Malignaggi says we have weight classes for a reason. Fighters are not superheroes. Somebody is going to get hurt. And when they get hurt, it'll be like when Michael Watson got hurt. What happened then? Barry Hearn ran for the hills, didn't he, when Michael Watson got hurt? It was Frank Warren who ended up doing all help on that. So, who helped Michael Watson with everything and the British Boxing Board of Control? Somebody is going to get hurt. Now, what's Eddie going to do if Kell Brook got smashed in? What would he have done? Oh, he got a few quid out of the job. You don't put welterweights in with middleweights. Come on. You go welterweight, light middle. I mean, my daughter, 4-year-old, will tell you that.
But then they'll talk about the Sugar Ray Leonard went up to fight Hackler.
Sugar Ray Leonard had 3 years, didn't he, to bulk up before he fought Hagler, and Hagler were on slide. He'd just been in life and death with the kid from South London who Mickey Duff had, John McGarvey. Yeah. He went life and death with him. Then Leonard had a meal with Hagler, and Hagler said, I think I'm finished. And then what do they do? They have the fight. He had over 3 years to put the weight on. And then what did he do? He nicked the fight. He ran for 2 minutes, 30 seconds, and he fought for 30 seconds of every fight because he had the legs to do it. But Kell Brook is not Sugar Ray Leonard. And Kell Brook had 9 weeks to put the weight on. He didn't have 3 years, did he? It was about money, and Eddie Hearn got paid. Kell got a smashed eye socket, and he'll never be the same again mentally. In fact, I think his confidence is that shot. I don't see him going near Errol Spence, because he can fight as well and he can bang. I think his confidence is that shot. I think he's just going to be one of them guys now who just wants big paydays, and he's going to live off the fact that he'd been in with Golovkin and he dared to be great. He should have stayed as a welterweight and made a name for himself like Froch did in his weight division. So you won't get Froch jumping to cruiserweight, would you?
No,
From super middle.
You absolutely wouldn't. Let's talk about Eddie Hearn, the promoter, the charismatic salesman.
Well, that's an easy one, really, because I've met him. When Eddie first came onto the scene, I was thinking of dog's bollocks, the dog's nuts. I thought that he jumped in with Carl Froch in middle at Super 6 with Glenn Johnson, but he'd already got Darren Barker at the time, and I thought, he's going to be all right. He was full of life. And then I suppose as you get settled and you get them checks coming in and you have a Rolex for every day at week, because they reckon Eddie's got a Rolex for every single day at week, when you get that money coming in, you start forgetting what's right and what's wrong. I mean, 6 pay-per-views they're looking at for this year. That's out of 20 shows. But yet when Carl Froch were fighting, what were they saying? We're going to bring pay-per-view back just this once for a Kessler fight, but it's just got to be for special fights. And why was that? Because Eddie ruined it with David A. and Audley Harrison. There were no pay-per-view. Well, for 2.5 years after that. I mean, I just think he's just lost the plot. I mean, he's signing women now. I mean, is that where boxing's going? I'm not saying the girl can't fight, but is that where we're going now, having women on shows? Is that where it's heading? So I don't know. They've got greedy with pay-per-view. Everything's pay-per-view, and it shouldn't be like that. They should just have a couple of pay-per-views. They're good, like Manny Pacquiao, Mayweather. Kovalev, Ward, that's a pay-per-view in my eyes, even though they're not big ticket sellers. The elite fights. I mean, feeding Kelbrook. I mean, Chris Eubank against Golovkin. How's that pay-per-view? Chris Eubank, you're only a British champion. Golovkin's not even from England, so how was that a pay-per-view? And who has Golovkin beat anyway? His record's so padded, you could make a teddy bear out of it.
People would say that, but see the hype around Golovkin. Don't say anything bad about Golovkin, because Golovkin's like, you can't say that about Golovkin. He's you shouldn't say anything about Golovkin. I'm not saying that. That's.
You mean he's King Kong and he wipes floor with everybody? Well, if you look at his record, he's beat 4 world champions. Azoma was a 154-pound champion. Then he had 5 defeats. Then he fought Golovkin. Kelbrook were a welterweight, undefeated, fair enough. And the 2 guys were Lamarx and Daniel Gill, who really, they weren't elite, were they? Martin Murray and Matthew Macklin, they were nearly men. What is his record? I mean, they said Bute's record was padded, but he'd beat about 8 champions, hasn't he? But not 4. I mean, Golovkin he's wiped them all out, but I wouldn't say his record's that brilliant as what they make it. He's not pound for pound number 1. In fact, if Floyd Mayweather were a stone heavier, I think he'd school him if you could keep him off him. That's my opinion on Golovkin, anyway.
What are your thoughts of the whole Sky Sports setup?
Sky Sports,
With
I
boxing.
think it used to be brilliant up until 2014, and when Carl Froch went, I think they got above the station and started going for pay-per-view with Joshua, and they've just rinsed the arse out of pay-per-view, and it's got to a stage now where people are saying, oh, I don't think I'll tune in for that, I don't think I'll buy that. The ticket sales are going down, the pay-per-view is going down, it's just heading in one direction. While certain people are getting rich, the fans are just sick of it. The only people who are lapping it up are casuals.
Interesting.
That's my opinion on that, anyway.
There's a lot of talk about how Sky and Matchroom invest in boxing. A lot of people online say Matchroom invest in boxing.
Invest? You know how many world champions Matchroom have had in 30 years, right? Let me tell you their first show. Joe Bugner against Frank Bruno, 1987. Before that, Matchroom did 2 shows with Mickey Duff, so that takes you to end of 86. So we're talking 30 years. They've had 2 world champions from debut. Herbie Hyde, who they cashed in on his first defence against Riddick Bowe, because they knew he was only a small heavyweight. And he wasn't even born in England, Hyde, by the way. And then you've got Anthony Joshua, and they nicked Tyson Fury's belt. So is that investing in boxing? No. They get fighters from EIS, up at Sheffield from GB team, and they're filtering them through that way. That's what they're doing. They're not investing in them. Sky do all the investing. Eddie Hearn don't invest in fighters. They don't do it. When the numbers don't add up, they bail out. They're not big investors in boxing at all, and don't let anybody ever tell you that. Don't let Eddie tell you that, because if he does, he's the biggest liar ever. I mean, he tells massive ones as it is. But no, they don't invest in boxing at all. Sky do it, and EAS do it. They're sending them good guys through, like Callum Smith and all the rest of them kids. They don't invest in boxing, mate. If they did, they'd have 20 world champions, wouldn't they? But they haven't. They've got 2. I mean, they didn't even have Chris Eubank from beginning, did they? Or Frotch, or Barker, or Bellew, or Brooke. None of them are from beginning. They all nicked them. Ricky Burns, a lot of them. All nicked, cleverly, all of them. I'm not saying they didn't do well when they got them, but they've not had them from debut, and they've not invested in them. And that's wrong.
So the 2 guys they've had from debut is Herbie Hyde and Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Do you know what?
Well, when you look at that, it's quite
That's true. That's to my children's life. That's true. That is true. And Eddie will tell you that, and he'll listen to this interview, and he'll probably give me an email slagging me, but that's true, mate. That is the bottom line. Yeah, he's a good promoter. Yeah, if Eddie Hearn had a bottle of water, right, and another promoter, Frank Warren McKenzie, had a bottle of water, their bottle of water would be, it's a bottle of water that's been in fridge. Eddie Hearn's bottle of water would be Sub-Zero, cool, best water ever, pound for pound water. That's how he'd sell his water. That's true, isn't it? That's just the logistics of it all, basically.
So, what you say that Eddie lies? What are the things that you say that you've seen of bold-faced lies that he says to the public?
Well, if you look at the interview not long ago, where it's a Scott Quigg interview, and they come into the changing room, don't they? And his dad's saying, "You're the best thing since sliced bread." And we've told Barry Milligan they're not going to get Kiko Martinez, they're not going to get Leo Santa Cruz. Well, they were wrong, weren't they? That's just one example. I mean, they got Martinez and they knocked him out, didn't he?
And they got Santa Cruz as well.
And then they got Santa Cruz, they're even having a rematch. So that's just ones for starters. And then telling Scott Quigg he's pound for pound and he'll beat Frampton. And he just goes on and on and on and on. And we're going to get Joshua fights with so-and-so and this and that. They're not fighting anybody. Do you honestly think they're going to fight Vladimir in April? It's just to drag it out. So when this fight happens in the next month, they can say, well, we couldn't get Vladimir, but we've got Molina, so we're going to have Vladimir in April, but it's still on. It ain't on. They're not going to put him near Vladimir. Vladimir would take him to school. Jesus, it's just lie after lie after lie, and someone needs to stand up to him, because it's getting stupid, and it's driving me insane. It's getting me to the stage where I don't want to do my own job. I'm just despising boxing. And I don't do it for money, because I've got a few quid. I do it for just maybe I've got an ego, I don't know. I like the buzz of it, but it's Skid Row boxing. It's on Skid Row in 2016, and we're being lied to by the main man. He's the #1 promoter in world boxing, and he knows it. But they're not even being truthful with us.
So you're basically saying that Eddie Hearn is a liar, then?
Yeah, he's a liar, and I've told him to his face.
So
he is a liar.
The whole thing about Klitschko Joshua.
That's not going to happen. I've bet Eddie £500 he's not going to put Vladimir with Joshua, Ortiz, Fury, and the other guy. What's the other guy? There's another big hitter. 5 of them, the big 5 I call them. Fury, Vladimir, Ortiz, and Wilder. Them 5 are not going near Joshua before 2018. It's just going to be lie upon lie upon lie. Do you know what it's going to be after Molina? Probably David Price. That takes us to what? April. Then it'll be an injury, then somebody else about August, and then it'll probably be Doofus or somebody like that at Christmas, and then we're back in, then 2017's gone then. It's just lie upon lie upon lie. If you listen to Brian King, he'll tell you straight, he's got it figured out. It's lie upon lie upon lie, and they're not having the fights that they should be having. You can't just have an IBF world title fight and learn on job. What? Brian Jennings? Come on, it's craziness, man. You're telling me, right, Molina against Joshua's pay-per-view, but yet Frotch Ward, that wasn't pay-per-view. Frotch Beauty, that wasn't pay-per-view. That's just my opinion.
Okay, that's your. Let's look at this.
Though, isn't it?
It's what it is, and you know,
Yeah.
people criticise me for interviewing people and people having an opinion. They criticise and direct it at me. I'm not saying anything. I'm just giving people a platform.
You're just giving me my voice a platform to speak, aren't you, kid?
That's it.
That's it. And I'm just saying how I feel it's going. They're not building them up. They're not getting fighters and building them from debut. Yeah, they may have a few fighters now from debut. Callum Smith. I mean, what's happening with him? He's been in top 3 WBC for the last 2.5 years and fighting dustbin men. Well, what's going on? I'm waiting for James DeGale and Jack and blah, but what? Come on, when Froch were number 1 contender, he was straight in there. Joe Calzaghe, are we fighting, yes or no? No, I'm moving up, right. Pascal, number 2 contender, straight in there, and they had a war. That's how you do it.
So you think there's a lot of camouflage going on then?
Camouflage? Yeah, I believe it's called a soap opera, and you've got Eddie Hearn sat in his big massive house in Essex with a script, and him and his dad are writing script, and all characters are all getting set aside, and we're all playing our little parts in it all, and everybody's being played, but at the end of the day, the money's all filtering up to Matchroom, and they're not taking any punches, are they? And once Joshua's finished, they'll be on the way on to the next guy, which is the harsh reality of boxing, of course. But the fans are being shortchanged, and Adam Smith, Barney Francis, should be ashamed of themselves. They should be ashamed of themselves, feeding us utter tripe. They mention Vladimir, we get Molina, Jennings or Price. Come on. I mean, the Price fight, David Price fight, I think is R4 right, and I think they're worried about him. But Jennings and Molina, come on. Jesus Christ, man. Come on, that can't be pay-per-view. Surely to God, I mean, I don't think it's going to be anyway. I think there's going to be an injury, or I think it'll be on Sky Sports 1. I don't think it'll be pay-per-view because the fans are just not having it. Everybody's going on to streaming sites, aren't they now? They're just sick of it. 6 pay-per-views in 1 year out of 20 shows, 17 quid a pop, that's under £8. On top of your Sky subscription. Come on, they're taking the Michael out of us.
So, explain to us why you think they've signed Luis Ortiz.
They signed him to keep Luis Ortiz away from Joshua. They're not going to want to put him in with Joshua. They white floor with him. That's why they signed him. So they can keep him busy, and every time there's going to be a fight for Joshua, they can make sure that Ortiz is tied up with another fight. So when press, or me and you say, Eddie, why don't you put Joshua in with Ortiz? Eddie can go, well, he's tied up, he's in Monaco. Or he's in Mexico, or in Miami, or wherever. He's not in London at O2 fighting Joshua. They're going to keep him well away. He didn't even tell Joshua they were signing him. Did you see Joshua's timeline?
No, I didn't.
He didn't even know he'd signed him, and then he just said, oh, lad, he can do what he wants. He told me after he'd signed him. He signed him to protect his interest. He wants to get that money back that he gave Charlie Martin. And the figures are down, and his back's against the wall. And he can't have it all. He can't have it all his own way all the time. He's got to fight somebody. You've got to put Joshua in with somebody. And to be honest with you, I don't think it's Joshua who's the problem. I think it's Eddie with numbers. I don't want to take a risk. He wants easy wins. Because I think Joshua's game as a pebble to fight. Game as a pebble. But it's the people around them. And I don't think they're going to let him near anybody who can fight. I mean, David Haye's more or less begging for a fight. And what's happened? They're not letting him go near him.
Okay, you talk about Charles Martin, the money they invested in Charles Martin. Talk to me a bit about that.
Charles Martin? Well, what would he be? He won title with a guy who fell over and did his knee in a vacant title fight. They took the belt off Tyson. The belt was took off Tyson, not in the ring, outside the ring, and he came over saying he walks the earth like a god. And to be honest with you, mate, he walked it like a potato. And he went down like a sack of potatoes, and it was embarrassing. And if that's a world title pay-per-view fight, good God, I don't know what's going to happen next. But since then, it's just been downhill for Joshua. Brazil, and now this next one, if it even happens, it's just rubbish. We're being fed rubbish, and we're being lied to. So that's my opinion on that.
So what happens now? Russell. What happens now?
What happens now? Well, I think there needs to be a big shake-up. Sky need to come out and come on the television and say, this fight is going to be on Sky Sports 1, no pay-per-view, and we're going to give something back to the fans because we're not fighting the proper people. They need to come out and be truthful instead of just saying that so-and-so don't want to fight him because he's got bricks for fists and all that. Come on. That's rubbish. It's total rubbish. I mean, Eddie can turn around and say Tyson Fury's suspended, David Haye's gone to Box Nation, Ortiz is fighting at Monaco, Vladimir's injured, and Wilder's in America, and Joshua can't get a visa. So Eddie's got all the bases covered for any name you throw at him. So we've had to do with Jennings, Price or Molina. He's a chess player. He's covering all his bases before anybody asks any questions. And they're all covered, so you can't really throw anything at him, can you? Because he's cute, isn't he?
Well, I tried to get an interview with him out of this gossip.
He's no chance.
No chance.
He's no chance. You're not giving an interview if you want to have a go at him.
I just want to ask questions. That's all.
Yeah, you just want to ask him what you've asked me, but he'll just not. He'll just say what I've just told you there. What's available. That's how they'll do it, or he'll just cut you sharp. I see it all the time with him. His voice. He gives you a question back, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, I said to him...
Because he learnt off the best.
Yeah, I know. He said to me that... he made some statement to me trying to compare what I do to Kugan Cassius. And I said, you know what? All the best to Kugan. He does what he does. I'm not Kugan. And I don't want to be Kugan. I'm me. And I do what we do.
Kay Kugan's good at what he does, though. But he's Eddie's man, isn't he?
Kugan does what he does, and good luck to him. All the best to him,
yeah.
You know? And then he blocked me when I said you basically admitted 30 seconds into our interview that you're a bullshitter.
Yeah, he's not going to want that out there because you've got 5,000 followers, haven't you?
No, he doesn't want that. He doesn't want that. So he doesn't want that. He doesn't want that.
No, he don't, mate. He don't.
So, but, you know, we all the bottom line is just to get the truth out there, you know?
Yeah, we want the truth out there. We want the good fights, don't we? I mean, I'd love to see Joshua fight Ortiz, David Haye and that. I'd love to see him go to America and fight Wilder. Already, if he could get a visa, already bring Wilder over. Because Wilder's untested as well, you know, just like Joshua. I mean, to be honest with you, they're all untested except Tyson and David Haye and Vladimir. The other two are untested, and I'd love to see them fight. But
let me
I just don't think they're going to happen.
Let me ask you a question about David Haye. I've made a big, I think I did almost a 2-hour video on David Haye. And I put it like this, in a nutshell. David Haye's last opponent, his last quality opponent was in 2012 against Derek Chisora.
Yeah.
He hasn't fought anybody of any note since 2012. Yeah. And the two guys he fought, since his comeback, haven't been worth even being his sparring partners.
Very good, they were poor.
Right,
but
so...
You could have given him the first one because he's had a long layoff, couldn't you? But the second guy wasn't very good, was he?
Well, how do you know how good David is? He in his peak?
Well, we don't do it. We don't know how good it. All we know is what Brian McGuigan and Shane McGuigan are going to say. And
from the Chisora fight,
they say he looks good, don't they, in training?
Yeah, of course he does. But I guess
there's hundreds of gym champions, though, isn't there?
Exactly. There must be. Why didn't he want the Shannon Briggs fight? Probably
because Shannon Briggs is a caveman. He's bigger than David Haye, and if you start swinging them big lefts and rights, woof, woof, like George Foreman, and he catches you, you're going to sleep. It's risky fight, isn't it, and no reward. That's probably why David's probably looked at it and thought, Jesus, because he's not going to fight for 12 rounds, is he, Briggs? He's just going to come out and blow everything he can at you for 3 rounds. And if he catches you, he's going to hurt you. And he's a bit like David Price, too risky. They don't want to fight these big hitters. They want to get them soft hitters so they can get to the pay-per-view fight. Then they can cash out, can't they? And I suppose that's what it's all about. But in the meantime, they're just telling lies and lies and lies to all fans, and it's frustrating. I'd rather them just come out and just say that and give more respect.
That's true. That's true. So the final thing is Chisora.
Dillian White
has been made.
Oh yeah, Dillian White and Chisora. I think that's a good fight actually. I think Derek's at the top of the hill coming down, and I think Dillian's sort of like nearly at the top of the hill, or he's just climbing the hill. So I think it's two fighters, even though there's not much age difference in it. They're at different stages of the career. It reminds me of Robin Reed against Carl Froch. You know, when Carl Froch, before he won world title, he was like nearly at the top.
Yeah.
And Robin Reed was just over Hill and that. And I think it'll go like that. I think Derek Chisora, on his days, a good fighter. He give Itil loads of problems. But I think that Dillian White, I think he just have too much vigour, just too much for him. I mean, my neighbour over here, Dave Allen, said he couldn't believe how good Dillian White was and close and that. And in clinches, he's strong and he's got a good jab and that. And I think he'll beat Chisora, Dillian White. I think he's really good. And I think if he gets his fitness right, Mark Tibbs will take him all the way. I really do. I think he's that good. And but we'll see what happens. But it's a good fight. It'll be a good press conference, won't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And for how do boxing fans, when they hear a rumour or they hear a story or something said, how can they look behind the lies? What would be the best way to look or to find out more information?
Oh, you've got. I suppose you'd have to email them, wouldn't you, or tweet them. I mean, Barry Hearn, he's pretty. And Eddie doesn't so much reply on tweets if he's been found out. But Barry Hearn more or less tells it straight. He's a bit of a straight shooter now, although he didn't used to be. I suppose you have to ask, don't you, if you're unsure. I just ask him, and more or less you get to the bottom of it, or you just ask behind the scenes, and you get. I suppose that's what I do. And so it's amazing little things you hear. You know, like some guy's coming to fight another guy, and they're saying he's had a good camp and all that. Then you find out that he's had 7-day notice, and you think, Jesus. And then you look at the card for the show, and you see 3 of them out of the 9 fights are all guys that have just got off at settee, and you're thinking, Jesus, they're dressing these up as 50-50 fights. I mean, I've won nearly $4,000 this year on Matchroom accumulators, so I can't complain, can I? You know, we like picking home fighters.
Yeah.
I mean, only one that's let me down so far is the Go one. I mean, other than that, I would have had about £600-700 out of that. But I suppose if you want to win money at boxing, just pick Eddie's fighters. I suppose. So, but I just tweet people if you're unsure about something or you don't believe anything. But I tend to go on boxingscene.com, and I think that they're pretty accurate. I think Cliff Rold, I think he's good.
Okay.
Terry Dooley, they're pretty honest writers and that. I won't listen to Scott Guilford. I don't think he tells a lot of truths, but I think he's biased. But boxing scene's a good place to get good knowledge because they have relationships with some promoters.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. I tend to listen to Brian King's lot, Chad Hogan. I think they do a good podcast.
Okay.
They've got a bit of a cult following. I know they're against Eddie on a lot of things, but hey, listen, Eddie made Townend fight against Martin Ward, and I give him loads of kudos for that, because I thought that were a brilliant fight. Because Townend only trains over the road from where I live, and he's knocking light heavyweights down. So, and I thought that were a brilliant fight. So they do some good fights, but this pay-per-view model, it's turning me grey, man. It's, honestly, 6 pay-per-view in a year, come on. It's just taking liberties, isn't it? And people need to make a stand. I'm not saying let's have a movement and all this and that, because I've emailed Eddie my opinion and he didn't reply back. But 6 pay-per-views in 1 year, somebody is taking the piss. I mean, they say that Frank Warren, when he was at Sky, he was taking the piss. Well, he wasn't doing 6 pay-per-views a year, was he?
Can you tell us? Do you remember what Frank Warren was doing? What his numbers were?
Yeah, Frank. I think it was 22 or 3, if that, wasn't it? I mean, I don't think it was that way. I mean, a car, wasn't it? Or I don't think it was ever more than 4. 2 Kawasaki, 2 Carnes, I think. I don't think it was ever. I think they did 1 year, didn't they? David A. and Mark Coronelli.
Yeah.
And I think there might have been 2 Carn fights that year as well on a Kawasaki, but I don't think it was 6. And 6 is a lot. I think it's a lot. It's a lot of money for fans, isn't it? Some fans who don't have the brains to go on a stream, they think, oh, another 17 quid or a quid to book it. It's a lot of money, and if you want to watch it every time, and it's on top of your subscription, I just don't agree with it. And I think if they don't do pay-per-view this time, I'll give them massive respect where it's due. Say, if Joshua's fighting is a big attraction, 20,000 a sell-out, that's if they sell it out. And if you don't do pay-per-view, I say, well done. But I think it's going to be pay-per-view, I'd have thought so, because Joshua's got a pay-per-view contract, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I just don't agree with it. That's all I'm kidding. I'm sorry, but...
Russell?
Yeah?
Is there anything you want to say?
No, thanks for having me on to air my, not grievances, my opinion. I only play a little small part in boxing, that's it. And if anybody in Doncaster's listening, get to Steffi Bull's show at Doncaster Dome on 19th, at the Motor Point at Cardiff on 26th for Sam Sheedy against Tommy Langford. Sounded like Eddie then, didn't I?
Yeah, and if anybody wants to contact you, how do they contact you via Twitter?
Just get on Big Vern, at Big Vern 44 on Twitter.
Russell, Hartley, thank you so much for talking to Baylor TV.
No problem, Ingram. You're a top man. You take care.
Thank you, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All the best. You have a good weekend. Bye-bye, young man.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's Ingram Jones from Baylor TV. We're out. Take care.